Let's get to the questions that I was at Harabais today, and I got to speak to Rabbi Weber, the Rosh Hashiva there. And first of all, we asked him a halachic question: Is it conceivable that, let's say, in the temple they're lacking materials? If you don't have any wood to burn on the altar, so you can't burn wood, no oil, you can't light the menorah. None of this you can't do. If you have no flour, you can't make the showbread. So you go ahead with what you can do. No lamb, no tamid. That happened a few times in history. Okay, we actually have a fasting marking when they ran out of lambs. They still had wood, they still had oil, but no lambs. Let's say they don't have wine. It says the Levium sing the song of the day, or of the Musaf, at the time when they're pouring the libation of the wine. What if there's no wine? Do the Levium still sing the song? Rabbi Weber said, that's actually a good question. I'm about to speak about this. You know what? He started, you can see the gears working in his head. It's actually, I can make an argument for it or against. But they use the precedent of Korban Pesach. Korban Pesach is the one Korban in the temple. The Levium are singing a song, and there's no libation. And that's why I put out, I got to speak after he did. I told people, and Haggadah Pesach, he has a suggestion that's why Chazal institute 2 other cups. Normally, when you say Kiddush, it's on a cup of wine. When you bench, it's on a cup of wine. So you have 2 cups of wine, Leil Seder. Chazal said 2 more. 1 cup of wine for Magid, to Gal Yisrael. Say that on a cup of wine also. And Hallel and Birkat Ashir. Since when do you say Hallel on a cup of wine? Most holidays, when I have a mitzvah to say Hallel, the sages didn't tell me, and get a cup of wine and say it also. Right? Dafka at the Seder, Leil Pesach, I have a mitzvah to say Hallel, unlike all the other times I eat sacrificial food. And the sages said I have to drink wine also when I do it. What's going on? So it must be because the Korban Pesach turns the house into a base of mikdash and all the people eating it are like Kohanim. This is a continuation of the Avodah. So the sages realize the Avodah of Korban Pesach needs Hallel when it's being processed in the temple and when it's being eaten in your temple, your house. So too, you have some wine. That's a libation of the Korban Pesach. Rabbi Weber's like, wait a minute, this sounds really familiar. Like, yeah, I told this to you 5 years ago. Okay, we put in a book. You edited that. He's like, oh yeah, okay, good. So he said you could entertain that. Yes, without wine, there will be a shear on a weekday, or maybe not. You know, you could look. Try to make a diuk in the Rambam. Look at the Gemaras. That's the type of thing that Sanhedrin will have to decide. If Chas v'Shalom comes time to say Shir Shel Yom, let's say, and there is no wine for the libation. Now, Rabbi Weber, I also asked him a question. So, classically, let's say you could have a Seder. Imagine you had a Seder with King David and Yehuda Maccabee. Wow. And you would serve them some charoses for dipping their maror. And one of them would take the charoses and just be like, no way, throw it away, throws it out the window. Pretty shocking behavior, right? This charoses, this isn't the halacha. Oy, you did this wrong. You ruined it. So the Ravid says that if he had the Rambam's Korban Pesach prepared the way the Rambam says, he'd throw it on the ground in front of him. Right? The Rambam ruined Korban Pesach. Of all the things that he disagreed with the Rambam, this is the worst. What am I talking about? The sciatica nerve. Gid Noshe. Lambs and goats have a Gid Noshe, not kosher. What do you normally do? You get meat from the butcher. How do they do this? They have a way to take out they're supposed to remove it. Sometimes it's inconvenient, and the backside of these animals are just sent to the non-kosher meat packing plant. Yeah, you lose a lot of good steak that way. But Korban Pesach, you're supposed to eat all the meat. Korban Pesach, you're not supposed to eat Gid Noshe. So the Rambam says what? Just roast it with the Gid Noshe and remove the Gid Noshe when it comes time to eat it. And the Ravid says, no, you can't. You ruined it because the Gid Noshe is surrounded by a layer of fat. And if you'd roast the Pesach whole like you're supposed to, with the Gid Noshe still inside with its sheath of fat, you're going to ruin the Korban Pesach. That's going to with the heat, it's going to liquefy and spread throughout the rest of the meat.
So the whole meat becomes the Gid Noshe by virtue of the fat.
The taste of the Gid Noshe. Right. As Rabbi Weber used the verb with pashet in Chulin, the verb is the peah. Shoresh pei ayin, or pipua. Okay, for guys learning halacha. So Rabbi Weber says, I don't understand the Ravid at all. He got really animated about it. Of course, I do like the Rambam. The forbidden fat is in the belly. Okay, the various halavim that are supposed to be burned on the altar. That you take out a long time ago. And we're even machmir. Technically speaking, those forbidden fats have membranes around them that technically aren't forbidden fat, but because they're really attached, those get burned on the altar also. Like the envelopes of these fats. The shuman agid is just shuman that has no taste. The gid itself has no taste, and the shuman agid itself is not inherently forbidden. So what do I care that the shuman agid goes throughout the rest of the meat of the korban through the roasting process? I'm going to throw away the gid anashe. Ein begidin b'no sein tam. No thein tam. Okay? These types of nerves and sinews do not have any inherent taste of their own, and they do not impart any forbidden taste to food that's adjacent to them. So that's the answer there. That's what Rabbi Weber felt very strongly. And he's putting his money where his mouth is because he and his Talmidim have a whole bunch of animals that they have now set aside for Korban Pesach, and they're inspecting it for Mumin. And they're the real ones who are getting ready. They're the real believers. They're the ones who are actually there at the Beis HaMikdash every single day, ready for this to happen. He's a very knowledgeable fellow, and there are other knowledgeable people with him, and they are really serious about what they're trying to do. And even if you could argue particular points, they're the ones who are there. Okay? You could armchair quarterback these things, but they've made a lot of progress. Today,
they passed on to Rambam before Davar.
No, I think maybe there's some argument. I didn't get to take out my Rambam Ravid list and other machlokas that we've seen, how they hold. But yeah, we discussed the whole thing of Hotzal. Also, the Rambam holds, unlike let's say Rashi, you see this inside, where you Korban Pesach, there have to be mechitzas. Actual, if you don't have walls, you have to build, halachic mechitzas around your area of eating Korban Pesach so you can define its place. Especially if there's another group. You can't have like at the hotel, even the hotel dining room, where there's a table here and a table there. Sometimes they pack it in. I don't know if this were a hotel dining room, each one of these were a table. It's, decent room.
Or like
still,
a huge
you can't have that.
Seder, with Korban Pesach would never work because at a certain point there's not enough kazetim and the lamb to give to everybody.
Yes. By the way, we were talking about this last week. How many people per lamb? So the Rambam paskins, not 10 or 20 like we were talking about last week, Agrippas, and is 10 per korban. The Rambam says as long as there's enough meat to go around, you can have as many people as possible. A large fat lamb can feed more people than a really small one, but there's no specific number. Hold on, we have a question coming in. No, where's the chat? I can't find. I get a notification, but I have to find where it is. Yeah, please take whatever you want. I don't see where the question came in, but I don't see it. It's more likely it would come from the ground. What are we talking about? The Mizbeach? What was that? What was that a comment on? Okay. I don't know. Okay. Where were we? Oh yes. So what do they hold like? I don't know. But that's what Rabbi Weber said regarding the sciatic nerve. Get on Noshe. Okay.